The Trump administration's attempt to scuttle all concern and speculation over the Epstein files has, unsurprisingly, upset the MAGA base and even provoked ally turned enemy Elon Musk. Musk posted this on X early this morning. What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again, with the official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter set at 0. And he also added, this is the final straw, in response to somebody who said, what happened to the client list is on my desk? What happened to the Epstein files part 2? What happened to those magical binders? What a farce. Musk spent the last day making his disappointment clear and amplifying right-wing figures who, for the last several years, have demanded transparency in the Epstein case. And this reignited a recent line of attack against Trump. Musk's skepticism comes just weeks after he accused former ally President Donald Trump of being in the Epstein files during an online spat, before deleting the claim and admitting he went too far. Musk wasn't alone either. Right-wing agitator Mike Cernovich posted, no one is believing the Epstein cover-up, Donald Trump. This will be part of your legacy. There's still time to change it. Right-wing influencer Jack Posobiec tweeted, I want answers on Epstein, as many as possible, not press releases, answers. But what many people have pointed out is conservative influencers like Posobiec were brought to the White House in February for exclusive access to the Epstein files. He posted this selfie on February 27th, holding the binder, Epstein files phase 1. Another influencer who received one of those binders, Chad Prather, posted, where is the Epstein info the American people were promised? You handed us a notebook and promised more was on the way. You told us it existed, and now you say it doesn't? America deserves answers. But those binders weren't actually revealing. They contained no new information, and the administration promised more would be on the way. On the day of the binder stunt, Rolling Stone summarized it this way. Conspiracy theorists, amateur investigators, and online cranks of all sorts were livid today as they came to realize that documents related to the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, released by the Trump administration in a highly publicized spectacle, contained zero new information, despite promises of bombshell revelations. Their shock resembled nothing so much as Charlie Brown's surprise when Lucy pulls the football out from under him yet again. And now it seems like nothing ever will be coming. No bombshells, no revelatory information, nothing. Now, even Fox News' Peter Doocy is offering rare pushback to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt over this move from the administration. Take a look.
The FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
Okay, the client list must have just disappeared. But perhaps the funniest summary was from this ex-user who posted, I can't believe Epstein killed himself right before he was about to be acquitted due to a complete lack of evidence. Now, Jank, this is interesting to me. You're seeing some of the most loyal Trump supporters publicly bashing him. What do you make of this?
Yeah, because this is a bridge too far. And so, look, the other phenomenon is we've talked about a lot on TYT. So in the past, they got almost all their information from Fox News and it was a talking point machine. Now they're getting it from different shows. And all those shows have a number of disadvantages to them. But the one thing that they were and they have some disagreements between them, and that's forcing people to use their independent judgment and look for evidence, et cetera. All of that is positive. And the one thing they all shared was that they thought, yeah, the Epstein files were disastrous. And remember all the talk the right wing had about, pedophilia and pedos and groomers, and all of that was connected to Epstein. So for them to now walk back and say that Epstein files were no big deal, they'll have a revolt from their own followers and their own viewers. So it just goes to almost every show. Patrick Bet-David's show was going, what the hell is going on? Vincent Oshana was livid over it on that show. Adam Selznick, who supports Israel, was trying to say it's no big deal. But if we found out the list, America would be so badly damaged. How would he know? I don't know. So other than some random Israeli supporters, no one is defending this that I've seen. And now I want to show you guys some of the people who are really angry about, and wait till we get to Alex Jones, that's coming up, him crying and vomiting in a second. But the two of the biggest people who were livid about the Epstein files were Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Let's take a little look at how it was and how it's going.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything.
That Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Oops. Oh, this is the biggest problem, man. And he was the worst of the worst. Who's Jeffrey Epstein? I don't even know him. Oh, he killed himself. No, don't look. He doesn't even have any clients. There's no files at all. It's impossible not to be super curious about what happened to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. I mean, we're a little curious from the left. On the right, now it's just a giant factory of what the F. Right, and we never believed in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, but the right wing, the MAGA voters, et cetera, they believed in those guys completely, and they believed that they were on the Epstein file, case, and they were going to reveal it. So when they come in and betray MAGA like this, and say, oh yeah, you're all conspiracy theorists, you're all imagining it. There are no clients, there is no file. Oh my God, they're livid. Speaking of livid, let's go to Alex Jones for a sec.
I just got to the office. I'm gonna go throw up actually, and this only happens every few years when something really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically gonna puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now because I have integrity, and I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good. And then for them to do something like this tears my guts out.
Donald Trump, what have you done? You've torn Alex Jones's guts out. All right, one last one. Benny Johnson. I mean, if anyone is reliable in kissing Trump's ring, it's Benny Johnson, right? But no, in this case, he says to say there are thousands of victims in a convicted sex trafficking ring, and then to say there were no customers when the operation happened right before our very eyes, insults our intelligence. He went on to say trafficking women to no one. I don't buy it. There are other dark forces at play here. And then he quotes Orwell, which I agree with, and I actually had the same quote in one of my tweets. The party told you to reject evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command, right? And the party in this case is the Republican Party and Trump. So that is almost all of Trump's supporters going, yeah, not buying it, not buying it at all. And I'm sure some of them will come up with kooky conspiracy theories. Oh, Trump actually wants to protect the Democrats because he's such a nice guy. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure some portion of them will come up with that. But as you can see, the overwhelming majority here going, no, the government is lying. I don't care that Trump is president. Of course there were clients. So Jordan, what do you make of it?
Yeah, how do you have potentially thousands of victims and nobody else? It's just him. The math doesn't add up. It just doesn't, it defies all logic and reason. So it's so obvious that even these people can't pretend to toe the line. There are many other instances where Trump will obviously lie, and they'll, the tariffs and the economy, the beginning of his term, markets were not doing well. Generously, we'll say they were unstable and they were defying the question of up or market growth or stability. Like they were questioning basic math. This is so obvious that they won't even do that. No, they know this is not true. They know there are other materials, documents, evidence, figures involved that are being protected for whatever reason. It's just interesting to see this is where they break from him. And I think it speaks to how effective the right has used this as a cudgel over the years, because they tried to make this into a partisan issue. I think there were plenty of people on the left who also thought that transparency was sorely needed, and they expected many Democrats to be involved. I don't think that prevented them from caring or forced them to, ignore people like Bill Clinton who had connections to this guy. Some sure, but the more prominent ones, I don't think so. But it's interesting to see this is the issue. This is the hill they will die on. That's fascinating to me, because at the end of the day, sure, we'll get more transparency. You want, I guess, it to some extent. I don't know if more transparency leads to justice for the victims, but I guess an argument could be made that it does. But it's not something that's going to materially change people's quality of life. And that's what's so, this is the hill they chose to die on. Something that is more about a narrative and scandal versus something that will, address the cost of living for people or affect the cost of groceries or housing or whatever. It's fascinating to me. You saw some people break out on Iran and war and foreign policy, and that's great. But nothing like what we're seeing here, a unified front on the right, all criticizing Trump. And that's just, it's wild.
Yeah, so that's great points, Jordan. So I want to break it down to three different categories here. There's the categories where Trump's voters were betrayed in a lot of ways, but they refused to acknowledge it. So for example, in the budget bill, they said that they hated the debt and they didn't want to add $1 to the debt and they wanted to cut. They added $3.3 trillion to the debt. But in that one, they're gonna make excuses. Oh, no, magically, the rich will trickle on us and it'll bloom flowers that'll get us $3.4 trillion. The magic works, right? So they lie to themselves to get themselves to believe that they didn't just massively add to the debt when they absolutely did, right? And then there's other ones like the tariffs. Yeah, it seems to be increasing prices and leading to volatility and hurts the consumer and is a regressive tax on the consumer. But in the future, you will see the genius of Donald Trump as the tariffs magically bloom and create lots of revenue and doesn't cause inflation at all, et cetera, right? So I can understand why, because there's easier pathways to lie to yourself, right? And it's so much easier to say, no, in the future, right? But here, there's a couple of problems they have. One, they're shutting the door on the future. They're saying, we're never going to release any names. Okay, so you can't say, oh, no, but magically Trump will later, right before he goes out of office, will release all the names. No, because he's saying, no, I'm not going to. I mean, he might as well scream, I'm on the list, right? I mean, he says him and Epstein were best friends for 15 years. He said he knew that Epstein liked him young. He wished Ghislaine Maxwell well after she was caught and was going to trial, et cetera. She's the biggest groomer, et cetera. So look, but there's probably plenty of Democrats on the list too. That's why they didn't release it either. Now, or they have other reasons that are aligned with the Democratic Party or our government in some way, why the Democrats didn't release it. Okay, but then there's a second bucket where folks like Rogan are going, you know what? I said, deport the criminals, close the border. I didn't mean deport all undocumented immigrants from the middle of the country and take them away from their jobs and their families, etc. That's kind of a, well, maybe you did and maybe you didn't, but I'm glad that you're saying you didn't now. I'll take it as, a sign that you realize that you went for a guy who was too extreme, right? And so that's kind of the middle ground. And then there's the third category, which interestingly enough, almost all relate to Israel. It could be that it's a coincidence. So here's what I mean by that. So one is on Gaza, when Israel and America, including Trump, are like, no, Gaza's fine. The Palestinians are the terrorists. The Israelis are a moral army, and they weren't trying to kill any civilians. But now Rogan, almost all the independent podcasters, and even some portion of MAGA are like, yeah, guys, we have eyes and ears. Gaza's totally leveled. Piers Morgan has flipped. He's totally leveled. What you guys are insulting our intelligence. The whole thing's a freaking parking lot. You've killed at least minimum 56,000 people, minimum 30,000 women and children, and you're pretending you're not doing it on purpose? That it was always a mistake and that you only meant to kill Hamas? No one believes you because we have eyes and ears. And now this is the second thing that goes into that bucket. You're telling us that there were no clients. Thousands of hours of tape of molestation and pedophilia, but golly gee, you can't find one guilty person there other than Epstein and Maxwell. No one believes you. We all have eyes and ears. So why are both the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States government lying to us on purpose about both of those things? And they're not going to be able to cover it up. You'd have to be the deepest MAGA in the world to think, oh yeah, I believe Donald Trump on this. I honestly haven't seen one person online say that yet. I'm sure there are, right? But even the major MAGA influencers are too embarrassed to defend this because it is indefensible. So whatever was foul play regarding Epstein, it's now obvious the Trump administration is in on it. And even his own voters and supporters are painfully aware of it. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.